Welcome to the Rising Consciousness Show, 20 minutes of soulful insights and powerful tools to elevate your life experience and create with higher clarity, intention, and vision. I'm Tara Antler, intuitive healer and soul coach.
And I'm King Gabriel, spiritual teacher and practitioner. And we are the co-founders of Ascension Academy of Life,
a global center for spiritual growth, intuitive healing, and soul alignment.
Get ready to blast off. Excuse me. Hello.
Gabriel's getting a little silly here now because it's now 11:41 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, and so we were sitting here tuning in, and I said, okay, let's while the kids are sleeping, let's do one more episode, and then we'll call it a night. And I said, okay, well, let's choose be willing to get uncomfortable, and then he said, whoa, and I said, let's tell some stories about the growth that happens. And he says, I can't even remember what he says, and I said. I go, oh, you farted to the edge.
Holy smokes, that's not what I said at all.
I'm thinking to myself, what edge? What edge? I'm like,
oh my gosh.
Like, what?
No, they have an image of me farting. Holy smokes. No, that's not what happened. That was Tara's rendition of stuff. What I was saying was, I've gone far to the edge, right?
Yes. Do you see? Jeez. Do you see and hear
not
that?
Not fart to the edge. I went far to the edge. Peace. Jeez. All right. Yeah.
But anyways. Do you see how that could have been misunderstood?
Yes, totally misunderstood.
Like, just as he said it again, I'm like, he just said
it. Yeah. Now I hear it, actually. But that's not what I intended, obviously. Anyways.
So let's dive in. Let's dive in and go far to the edge.
Yeah, let's go far to the edge. Far to the edge, yeah.
That should be a slogan.
Go fart to the edge. Lovely. Okay, so I guess half this one is gonna be us laughing. So here's it. We are here tonight to discuss, to get uncomfortable, right? And it's perfect that we start off like this because we're talking about.
Because normally in all our podcast episodes, we're so cool and calm.
Yeah.
And collected.
The giggle bugs hit because it's like 11:43 at night. But either way, we're talking about being uncomfortable.
Getting uncomfortable.
To allow that growth, right? Getting
Absolutely.
Uncomfortable. Yeah.
Doing things outside of the norm.
Yeah.
Because we all have a normal way of being, right? We have a normal way of talking and living and recording a podcast and showing up in our teachings.
Yep. And being very structured, right? Yeah, but what if you were to
just
break the mold? What if you were just to break the mold? How about that? How about you break the mold and you be yourself? How would that be?
Ooh.
Yeah, your self, like the self that you don't really let anybody get the insight on, the self that might be kind of silly at times,
and fart at the edge.
That might fart at the edge, actually, right? Yeah, I suppose. Right? Like, how about that self? Where's that guy or girl? Where's that person? Right? And we're here to bring that forward because that's the you that sometimes the world needs to see, to recognize that it's all right to be themselves as well.
And that you might need to see to let yourself know that it's actually okay to be you too.
100%.
And in that space of being yourself, you get to stretch and you get to grow and you get to really step into what I would call a more full version of ourselves, because there's things that we've learned along the way, right? Like we've learned how to be kind, and especially if you're Canadian, how to be polite. The polite Canadians around the world.
Canadians are known as the most polite people in the world. You guys are amazing.
And then most Canadians really are like biting their tongue and have some choice words inside themselves that they're not letting out, right? So is that really us? Is that really being authentic? Or is that putting ourselves in an internal uncomfortable situation to make comfortable outside? But what if it all could just be either it's all comfortable or it's all uncomfortable? Right? And so I think it's really fun to have this conversation because it opens up the door to authenticity, to being able to be more transparent in all situations, to be able to, it's okay if I don't have it all together today. It's okay that it doesn't look perfect today. It's okay that I slipped up here. Like the time we were doing a live workshop and the power went out and I dropped an F-bomb in the middle of the the thing because I thought the power went out and I was like, oh, F, with the whole like hand slap to the forehead.
Tara was on her best behavior.
Oh my gosh. And meanwhile, forgetting that my phone is also hooked up to Wi-Fi or the carrier, the
provider.
the cell phone provider, and it flipped over when the power went out.
Yeah.
And
So
it just
caught.
kept going. And I was like, you guys didn't hear that, did you? And they're
And
like,
we're
and they're all
yeah,
laughing. They're like,
yeah.
yes, we did. I was like, oh my God. Now I could have sat there and totally judged myself and been hard on myself and been like, oh my God, I shouldn't have said that. Why did I say that? I can't believe I said that. I wish I could delete that. Instead, I had to accept that in that moment because we're live. We're on live with like 100+ people on our live video with us.
And it happened.
And
that's that. Yeah.
And so you just roll with it. I got uncomfortable. It felt uncomfortable for a moment. And then I was like, okay, in this flash moment, I could be hard on myself and judge myself, or I could move on.
Yep.
And we're going to use it.
Yeah.
And so we used it and we moved on, and it was amazing. And we connected with the people that we needed to connect with. And if it triggered some people, it triggered some people, and it's all okay. That's the thing. It's all okay. And so this is more of the external conversation. And then we want to talk about the internal in a moment, about getting uncomfortable to grow. But when it comes to, let's say, external situations, right? Like, let's say we might do something like that and someone else gets triggered. And then someone takes it personally because they're like, oh my God, I shouldn't have, you know. Where's the growth in that? Is there growth in that?
Yeah, I would say that they have an opportunity, and the growth in that experience is in developing a sense of humor, right? A sense of humor carries you far in life. Like, have you been around somebody in life that's so dry and so literal and so attached to everything as it is that their life kind of reflects this kind of nonchalance or this boring vibration? Where you're there and it becomes boring, not a judgment per se, but when a person drills so hard and is so serious about life, it becomes a bit too serious.
Or rigid.
Right? Unrigid, right? And seriousness is usually of the ego, by the way. It's the attempt to control everything and make everything work according to your plan, right? So that you could be safe, right? That's the ego's plan. So when that is going on, you know you've fallen into that territory anyway. Can you laugh that off? Can you laugh off that F-bomb that you accidentally dropped? Can you laugh off the little trip up of word that you may have said and genuinely feel comfortable with yourself in your uncomfortability? If you make an error, so what? Doesn't everybody make errors like all the time? Haven't we all made errors at some time? Yeah. So can we laugh that off? And laughing, as I say laughing, I'm talking about laughing as in the mechanism that gets you to dust off that energy that's keeping you all stuck and just let you fall back into being yourself. The mechanism that lets you feel back into you in your natural, joyful state. Like if you're hanging out with a bunch of friends and you guys were telling good jokes and you're just comfortable and in that environment, you know, you put yourself back in that state instead of staying over on the other side, watching in, being like, judging yourself. Oh, shigs, I actually said that. Wow. Now what? And in your head the whole time, right? And then when you're talking, you're not even on topic or relating to the people anymore. You're gone. You're gone. You're absent, completely absent, right?
100%.
So this is about absence and presence at the end of the day. And can you adjust and get yourself back into that space by allowing yourself to become comfortable with yourself by being uncomfortable?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, and this is where I'm seeing this image of a coin, right? And there's two sides to this conversation where it's exactly that. In the moments that you are already uncomfortable, can you allow yourself to grow through that moment, to maybe stretch yourself through that moment, to make it's okay. It's all okay. It's all good. And through that, as the growth happens, as the learning happens, as the letting go maybe happens, not being so hard on itself or others, and relaxing into it and laughing or, you know, shrugging it off, that's where the growth happens, which then allows you to become comfortable in another way.
Yes.
You feel freer.
Yep.
That's the feeling that I get when I think about that, is you feel free, where you're like, it's all good. This is how it is. This is what's happening. It's all good. And there's a freedom that comes with that. And also in the freedom, there's a surge of more of you. Yes. More of the authentic you, more of the full you that gets to come to the party and show up and be in life.
Finally gets to be expressed. Yeah,
right?
Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. And then there's the other side. So I was talking to this with our creation container. So we have this beautiful mastermind, a 6-month mastermind creation container where we go deep into creation, where we're really consciously creating the life that we want, the things that we want.
And also what happens in there is people actually stretch themselves to express more of themselves, and they develop along the way so that they can hold that bigger container and have that bigger expression as well.
And what we were talking about tonight, we did a workshop workshop on the voice and using your throat and the expression of life through your voice and sharing, whether it be teaching. That's my voice is a little strange today because I was talking all night long already. And so, but to be able to open up and allow that gift to flow through you, whether it be through teaching, speaking, coaching, healing, standing on stage, podcasts, books, writing, and the willingness to get uncomfortable. Because when you're standing on stage, let's say, whether it's in front of 10 or 10,000 or anything
or 26
in between,
million like we did already.
Right. There's a moment where it's a rush and it's exciting and it's uncomfortable all at the same time.
Yes.
And if you can allow yourself to ride through the uncomfortable, ride through the fears, ride through any anxiety or thoughts about yourself or judgment on yourself, or what are they going to think? What am I going to think? Am I going to nail it? I don't know. Is my mouth going to get dry? Or are my knees shaking? What if I forget what I'm going to say?
Holy smokes.
Like all these thoughts, they race through your mind when you're standing on stage, when you're speaking. And so you get very uncomfortable, very, very uncomfortable. But the coolest thing that happens is that when you allow yourself, and this is what I was talking to them about, by getting super present and allowing yourself to just be aware of all of it and use your breath and, connect to source, then all of a sudden you can show up powerfully. And it's almost like you ride right through that uncomfortable moment, which is really just a trigger of the ego in that example. You ride through it and then it's a rush. The extension and the expression and the energy that exudes out from you and into the audience is mind-blowing and ecstatic. And then you finish it and you feel so lit up, and you know that you've touched at least one person in that room and you've lit up the space and you delivered, and you're like, oh my God, that was the best thing ever. I want to go do that again. Hey, how many times after a talk and I'm like, I want to go do it again. Right. And because you grew, because you stretched yourself through the uncomfortable. And that's the thing that I find in the creation container. And then I know you have something you want to add.
Go ahead.
But it's just a thought that popped in was a lot of the people who are in the creation container, like you said, are stretching themselves. One of the things that I've seen consistently is when you have really big goals or intentions or dreams that you want to create, there is this stretch. There is this expansion that naturally has to happen for you, for your energy, for your belief systems, your emotions, how you think, how you feel, how you be, how you act, your actions. All of it has to grow and change. And you exist in a certain framework right here, right now. That next version of you exists in the next moment. There's a gap between who you are in this moment and who you are in that next moment. The gap is often the uncomfortable. Because you're like, oh, I got to do what now? Oh, I have to. Oh, I gotta let go of that stuff from the past. I have to shed. I have to shift.
I actually have to speak in front of people. What?
I have to go live on video.
What?
I'm gonna build a business. I gotta think differently. I might have to hire some people. All these different things start coming to the mix because we're like, I want that. We see the vision, we see the dream, and we're like, yay, I want that. I want that life. I want that thing. And then our mind isn't logically thinking of all the things in between that is going to come up.
And then when they come up.
Thankfully, it doesn't. Or else we'd be like, forget that.
We'd
I'm just going to stay
quit
right
from
here.
before we even start.
I'm going to stay right
We'd
here.
be like, okay, good.
I'm not going to grow.
That's not for me.
Nope, definitely not.
me.
I'm not taking those steps. I'm not doing that. I'm not making myself uncomfortable. No way, no how. I'm going to stay right here on the couch in my pajamas, and I'm not doing anything. Not doing anything.
I know what I can do. I can watch some Netflix.
Oh, yes. And eat popcorn.
Yes.
I'm going to do that all day long.
Yeah.
And so we get comfortable then, right? Because if we knew all the things in between, if we knew that we would have to get uncomfortable, if we knew, and especially the ego, if it knew all the things that would have to happen, it would stop us immediately before we'd even get started.
Sure, right. Yeah,
right?
Yeah.
And so thankfully we don't know all the in-betweens until we go, yes, this is what I want. And we step into it and then we go, right? It's like, I want to be a speaker. I want to be a speaker. I want to speak on stage. Great. Here's 5 opportunities. Yay. I booked them all. And then you're there and you're about to do it and you're like, oh, no. It's like being on a roller coaster.
Of course.
Right? It's like Canada's Wonderland in Toronto, Ontario. Oh my gosh. Many years ago, before we had babies.
Yeah.
I hadn't been on a roller coaster in many, 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 many years.
And with good reason, I guess.
And so we go. I didn't have that experience when I was younger, though. I used to like them. But we go on this one roller coaster. The Leviathan. No.
Was it? It was the Behemoth. This one's the behemoth, not the Leviathan.
Oh my gosh.
This was the baby Leviathan.
It wasn't baby to me.
Yeah.
It wasn't baby to me.
Yeah.
We're in the lineup, and I'm like, yay, we're talking. I'm like,
Yeah.
this is gonna be so much fun. It's Gabriel's birthday. This is gonna be so much fun.
Yeah.
And we get on, and okay, this is one of those roller coasters that doesn't have the, those things that come down around your shoulders and over your chest to like tuck you in.
Yeah.
No. It doesn't have that. It just has a tiny little thing between your legs that's maybe the size of like those small bowling balls, that we went bowling with?
Probably.
Small little bowling ball size.
Yeah,
Not the
yeah.
10-pound bowling ball size. Just the little one.
The baby bowling balls, yeah.
Right between your legs. That's all that's holding you in. And I'm like,
Holy smokes.
you've got to be kidding me.
Yeah.
You've got to be kidding me. I'm going to fall out for
Needless
sure.
to say, Tara was panicking from the get.
I said, I'm like, oh no. And there's
Not
this kid in
outwardly,
front of me.
more
I said
more
to-
inwardly than outwardly, though. Yeah, go ahead.
Gabriel, I go, I'm just going to close my eyes. I'm going to close my eyes throughout the whole thing. And there's this little kid, maybe about 10,
Yeah.
12, sitting in front of us. He looks back, he goes, don't close your eyes. It's worse. I go, it's worse. I'm like,
So she starts panicking even more.
So I'm sitting there and I'm like, deep breathing. I'm real uncomfortable already.
Yeah.
We start climbing. I go, Gabriel, this is a real bad idea. I'm
Believe
like,
me, if it had a way to stop the
would've
roller
gotten
coaster
off.
right then and say, okay, she has to get off, I would have done it.
I would have gotten off.
I would have done it.
I would have gotten off. I really would have.
Yeah.
And we're going. I'm like, oh no, here it comes.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
can feel it coming. And what happens? We go over the edge. I pass out.
Passes out completely. Wakes up at the end of the ride.
No, not at the end. Maybe about 3/4, halfway through.
Okay,
I blacked out for maybe, I don't
Close
know,
to the end of the
maybe
ride.
5 seconds I blacked out.
Yeah.
But it was awful. The whole experience was awful. And I got to the end of that and I was like, I'm not doing that again.
Wow.
It's very clear. I was like, I'm not doing that again.
Now you know one day we have to go back on that.
Oh
though,
my
right?
gosh.
Obviously.
But like
yeah.
those are the
Yeah.
things, right? Like you're on
Yeah.
the roller coaster. It's like getting the speaking gig and you're at the moment where you're about to set and you're like, oh, forget this. No
Yeah,
way.
you just
No
check
way.
out,
I'm
right?
out. I'm out. I'm out. I'm not doing it. Call it
Yeah.
off. I'm not doing it. But
Yeah.
you have to fulfill it. It's like being on the roller coaster.
You're
You're
there.
like, you're there. You're strapped
stop
in.
it.
You got to go on this journey now. Like you're in it. You're in the seat. Go, right?
Yeah.
And I think that, I mean, yes, I'm sure if I really dug deep, I'm sure there's
You-
some growth. There's
yeah,
some growth
there's
that
always
probably
growth,
came
yeah.
from that roller coaster
Yep.
experience. One being a good learning for me is that I'm not built for roller coasters. That
Yeah.
was a good learning for me.
Good
I was like,
learning.
I'll go on the children's roller coasters.
Yes, and she
instead.
goes on all the little
I love
rides like
them.
swings that swing in circles very slowly for the 4-year-old kids. That's Tara's speed, and we love and appreciate that.
At least there's always someone.
Yes.
There's always an adult that will go on the
Yes.
children's games
You know your
and
speed,
rides.
right? You know
Yes,
your
I know my
speed.
speed.
Yeah.
So you learn about yourself.
Yeah.
You learn about your speed.
Yeah.
You learn about what is comfortable, what's going to stretch you, what's too much sometimes, because sometimes we do overdo it. We're like,
Certainly.
it's like when you hear about that from a soul's perspective, right? When they say, when you're coming into a soul's body, you're like, wow, I'm going to do it all. I'm going to take on every challenge, every hard thing. And then you get here and you're like,
Oh my gosh, what was
did
I
I do?
thinking? What
Right?
was I thinking?
and you're like, escape. Where's the eject button?
Yes,
Where's the
yes.
eject button, right?
Yeah.
And you go through it. You
Yeah.
go through it, right?
do.
And you grow and you learn. And the one thing that I can say for sure is getting uncomfortable. Amazing growth.
So I want to speak on this topic too, because it's
Yeah.
certainly
Yeah.
something that is meaningful, and it has been meaningful in my life as well. The uncomfortability for, like, let's say people who do improv. Or
This is where you're going to
sing-
fart off the cliff.
No, I'm not farting off the cliff. All right, the edge. All right. It's like, when you take up things like, let's say, improv or a singing class or any sort of thing that you want to do, and let's say you have a fear of being in front of people doing that stuff, right? There is a certain amount of uncomfortability that you're willing to deal with at that point. But if you do things related to that, let's say, like you get up there and you start to do public speaking, although it's not singing itself, and you put yourself out there to be in front of people, to feel what it feels like to be there, or in some extreme cases, because I could think of even more extreme things that I've done in my life to come around to the point of confidence that I'm at regarding everything. If you
Can
put
you share
yourself,
an example in a minute?
no, I'm not going to.
No?
But yeah, but yes. But as you stretch yourself, right? As you stretch yourself that much further, like skydiving, let's say you do something crazy like skydiving, right? Let's say that. Now, if you do something like that, right? It's not exactly the same, but it pushes that envelope of what you're comfortable with. It pushes you to the point where you get in your mind, hey, well, if I can do this, I can do anything. Right? And that actually translates to the other thing, right? So if you get up and you do improv, let's say take an improv class, and it's not like anything is scripted, right? It's you on the spot coming up with stuff. If you like to, let's say, freestyle, like let's say some people play around and they freestyle rap once in a while and stuff like that, right? If you do that and you just trust that the line is going to come to you when you have to say it, and you just do it. Eventually, you start to feel that comfortability in that uncomfortable situation, and you gain a bit of confidence with it. So that when you're speaking, if you're writing, if you're singing, if you're doing anything related to that in front of an audience, you'll actually have developed that comfortability in that space, right? So it's wonderful to explore and to do things like that, just to push the envelope so that you
gotta
can
make sure that you share this with our creation container people, because that is perfect.
Yeah.
I love that.
They know that. They got that already from me.
I
already
love
spoke
that,
to them.
because that's exactly it. You know,
Yeah.
when Gabriel was just speaking right now, what I kept thinking about was it does increase your confidence.
Totally.
In everything.
That's
so
how
if you
grow.
want to be a better speaker, maybe go do some improv and get uncomfortable, or go sing, right? And if you want to get comfortable with singing, then maybe start speaking, and you start to close the gap until the point where you're like, okay, I'm gonna try it this way, and you go for it. And you get uncomfortable, and again, in that uncomfortable space, you're changing things up. You're changing up your wiring. You're changing up your mind. You're changing up your habits and your behaviors and how you're showing up. And you're taking that pool of water that can sometimes get a little stale and a little funky, right? You start shaking that up. And as you shake it up, you're like, whoa, I had no idea that I had this gift inside of me. I had no idea this was a part of me. I had no idea I even loved that. I had no idea that I was able to do that. And you strengthen, and you can give yourself the pat on the back. And
you learn about yourself.
You do. And you know, it's funny because I was thinking about the roller coaster thing and thinking about other times because I'll share two stories about times that I got really uncomfortable. Remember when we were in Ireland? So Gabriel laughs at this all the time because he's like, you won't go on a roller coaster where they're tested to be safe and you're okay, but you would go to the edge of the cliffs of Moher and stand and sit right at the edge.
At the edge of the cliff of Moher, right, where the breeze is blowing almost close to a hurricane. Probably close to a hurricane. All right, not really a hurricane, but it was pretty fast breeze. It was serious breeze blowing there, right? Tara goes out on the edge of this cliff and sits down meditating where this breeze is blowing now. Mind you, if you fall from there, you ain't coming back.
Yeah, you're gone.
You ain't coming back. That's
very
it.
high.
You're gone, right? I was like,
and I was able to look over the edge. And I had, I really, like, I might have not, and I can't palpably, like, feel fear right now as I think about that. I might have had a little, like, like, this is kind of exciting and scary at the same time. But there was more of this, I knew, and that's, I think, knowing yourself. Like, I knew my balance, and I knew I just wanted to be there. I wanted to look over the edge of the cliff. Yeah.
You know what I knew? I knew I was supposed to stay on the other side of that barrier and watch you do that. Because I wasn't doing that.
Take the picture.
No. That's
and
what I knew.
What he laughs about, though. He's like, you would do that, but you wouldn't
go on a roller coaster.
Right?
Like,
but again, it's like knowing yourself and knowing when to stretch yourself, knowing when is too big of a stretch, maybe, right? And the other thing that I thought about as an example was, when I started to get the message of California, like, I knew I needed to go to California for many reasons. There's so many gifts that came from my journeys down to California. I drove I flew down the first time, and then I knew I wanted to be in California longer. So I thought, well, I'm going to need my massage table, my biomat, and a whole bunch of other stuff, and clothes to last me at least 3 months. So I drove down, and I didn't have anybody to drive with. And so it was just me and my little Toyota Yaris at the time, and drove from Toronto all the way to LA by myself. I did that twice. And I remember my mom saying, wow, like, she was freaking out. First she was scared, and then she was like, wow, like, that's courageous. And for me, I just knew it was something, I was uncomfortable and excited. And I think that's the thing to remember, is that in those moments of growth, when you're driving towards something, when you're walking towards something, when you're moving towards something, there's usually a bigger goal or desire at the end, right? Not that there's ever a real end, because it's just a continuation, but there is something. Like, my goal was to get to California. And there were many things within California as an experience that I knew I was going to have, people I was going to meet because I had already met. And then there were many unknowns. There were many miraculous things that I knew I could feel within my being that were about to unfold. So I knew I had to get to California. And so I took the journey. And along the journey, there were many moments where it was uncomfortable. I remember many moments of like, oh my gosh, when's the next gas station? And that's why I remember my dad and my uncle saying, never let your gas tank get below half a tank, because
Certainly.
you never know when you're going to hit a stretch.
Yeah.
And so I remember.
There's a saying that goes, "You're never lost if you have a full tank of gas."
Well, there you go.
That's
See,
the
I was
saying.
never lost.
You need to
I could
know
drive
that
around in
saying.
circles.
Yeah.
And back
Yes.
then, this is the other
Yes.
thing. Back then, it's not like having a GPS on your phone like you do now.
Yeah.
I didn't have any of that. Our
Yeah.
cell phones didn't function like
Yeah.
this
Yeah.
back then. It was just those regular little phones, basic cell phone.
Yeah.
And so how I navigated was with a map, like an actual map. And I had
Like
a
a
book.
serious cartographer up in the
Yeah, I had a
go
book,
ahead, yeah.
and I took a highlighter, and
Yeah.
I traced out. And every day when I would land in the next, destination, I'd be like, okay, I know I can drive this many hours. I can get from here to here. I'm gonna land in this town, and that night I would look and I'd map out my next route, and step by step by step. But I think it took me maybe 6 days, but it was amazing, and there was so much growth along that journey. I had a lot of time to reflect and think and grow, and there was so much. It was beautiful. I would actually do it again, because it was so powerful. And to be able to reach to that end point, to be like, whoa, to look back and be like, I just drove, I don't even remember how many kilometers, 6,000 something kilometers by myself in a car, by myself. So through some sketchy territory, through some interesting, places, even driving through New Mexico, where I'm like, aliens,
Holy
right?
smokes,
Like
aliens.
so many things cross your mind when you're in a car by yourself, and so much expansion. And to think about the expansion that followed, all of it was worth it. All of it was worth it. So that's something that I want to leave you with, is that if you are in that moment where you are stretching and growing and it's uncomfortable, stick with it. The uncomfortable is great, because it's going to grow you. And when you get to that space where you're like, whoa, I reached that milestone, you can turn back and be like, oh my gosh, I'm so glad I did it. It's so worth it. If you're just starting and you need to get uncomfortable, go ahead and get uncomfortable. It's okay. You're going to be okay. It's going to grow you. It's going to stretch you in ways that you can't even foresee as yet.
Yep. And the bigger that goal is too, that you have, that you're moving into, the more that it pulls you into action to fulfill it, right? So you'll find yourself making those uncomfortable leaps, but you're headed somewhere that's so big that those uncomfortable leaps just feel like the next logical step for your growth. Yeah.
So maybe the next leap for you is to find the edge of a cliff and
go
far,
sit and
go
meditate
far
on it with a hurricane blowing down your back. Oh, great decision. Nice decision making process.
Get uncomfortable.
Get uncomfortable.
We love you so much. I hope you have an incredible day, evening, wherever you are in the world. And we look forward to connecting with you again
See you soon. Ciao.
Thank you so much for joining us today on another episode of the Rising Consciousness Show. For more high vibrational tips, tools, meditations, conversations, and ascension, join us over in our free Facebook group. All you have to do is go to www.facebook.com/groups/Light Ascension Collective. We look forward to seeing you there.
You're listening to Rising Consciousness. Yeah.
Woo!
Woo!